Salvete discipuli. In today's lesson, we will read the story Pro Taberna Clementis, in front of the shop of Clemens. It is the dramatic conclusion to the series of stories we have been reading. The mob boss Eutychus is sending his Egyptian hired thugs to go take care of Clemens because he would not pay the protection money. This doesn't look good, people. It doesn't look good. Clemens in templo Dei Isidis cum ceteris Isiakis saepe cenabat. Clemens often used to eat dinner in the temple of the goddess Isis with the other Isis worshippers. Okay, we talked last time about how the imperfect can express the concept of used to do an action, cenabat, used to eat dinner. Okay, and again, always worth noting again, genitive singular, Dei Isidis. Quondam ubi a templo in quo cenaverat domum redibat, amicum conspexit accurrentem. Okay, there's some really interesting grammar to unpack here. First off, the order of this, okay, in the Latin is not necessarily the order that you would want a completed English translation, but the translation we've got here does more or less follow it. So once, when, now, in quo cenaverat. Okay, this is a relative clause, and we really can't bring in a templo without bringing in this element. And so the English translation, when he was returning home from the temple. Okay, this form domum, by the way, returning home. Okay, this is what we call a locative. Okay, you don't need to say ad domum when you have this particular noun. A handful of nouns basically have this special form all on its own, like it means to returning to the home. So when he was returning home from the temple, now is when we want to bring this in quo cenaverat, in which he had dined. Cenaverat is a pluperfect tense verb, in which he had dined. So he caught sight of a friend, okay, amicum conspexit. But this is a new form we will be studying. This is called the present active participle, okay? You're going to learn that this NT right here, plus a third declension ending, this is basically like the ing form, okay? So accurrentem, running up to him. He caught sight of a friend running up to him. So now it's accusative because amicum is accusative. A present active participle is essentially an adjective. It's describing a noun or a name as being in the practice of doing something. Okay, so in this case, amicum accurrentem, a friend running up. Amicus clamabat, taberna ardet, taberna tua ardet, tabernam tuam deripiunt Eutychus et operae. The friend was shouting, the shop is burning, your shop is burning. Eutychus and his hired thugs are ransacking your shop. Now, take note of the word order of this final sentence, okay? In Unit 1 of the Cambridge series, we would always have had subject, object, verb, okay? But we are beginning to see word orders that are much more flexible. Okay, so that's all the more reason why you have to know your endings. Okay, so when you see tabernam tuam, regardless of the fact that it has just started first in your sentence, you know it's the direct object. Diripiunt, you know that's a verb. Eutychus et operae, those are nominative forms. So those are the subjects. Eutychus and his hired thugs are ransacking your shop. So once again, we are going to have some present active participles here. Okay, now so this es ending that we have here, this is an accusative plural matching the word eios here. Okay, so he says, I saw, vidi, I saw them, and then they are described as wrenching off doors, evelentes valvas. They are described as fragentes vitrum, breaking glass. They are described as incandentes taberna, burning the shop. Fuge, fuge ex urbe, Eutychus te interficere vult, nemo ei operisque resistere potest. Flee, flee from the city. Eutychus wants to kill you. No one can resist him and his hired thugs. Okay, so these are imperative forms. Fuge, flee. Okay. Irregular verb vult finishes its action with an infinitive, interficere. Eutychus wants to kill you. Okay. Now, this is a dative. These are dative forms. Ei, dative singular. Operis, dative plural. The verb resistere takes a dative object. Okay? We're seeing more and more of this. So no one is able to resist him and his hired thugs. Clemens tamen non fugit, sed ad tabernam quam celerime contendit. Clemens, however, did not flee, but hurried to the shop as quickly as possible. Postquam illuc advenit, pro taberna stabat immotus. After he arrived there, he was standing motionless in front of the shop. Okay, so again, immotus is nominative singular. It's describing Clemens as he is in the action of stabat, was standing. Where is he standing? Pro taberna. That's why this story is entitled Pro taberna Clementis, because that's where all the action is about to happen. Valvas evulsas tabernam direptam vidit. He saw doors wrenched off, the shop ransacked. Now, these are what we call perfect passive participles. Okay, we've studied these in the past. We're not going to study them very formally for a little bit, but present active participles is going to be the main lesson of the next stage. Eutychus extra tabernam cum operis Aegyptiis stabat ridebatque. Eutychus was standing outside the shop with his Egyptian hired thugs, and he was smiling. Oh, that Eutychus, what a horrible guy. Eutychus cacinans, mi dulcissime inquit. Nonne te de hac via monui? Nonne amicos habes quos vocare potes? Cur absunt? Fortasse sapientiores sunt quam tu. So, Eutychus cackling said. Okay, so the NS is the nominative singular of the present active participle. So again, the present active participle becomes ing. So this verb means to cackle. Okay, so cackling is like ha 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 ha, something like that. It's just really sick and evil. Okay, he's a sick and evil guy. So he's cackling. He says, "My sweetest dulcissime." Okay, he doesn't care anything about Clemens. He wants to kill him. So. And remember, inquit is what means sad. Okay, so inquit frequently starts after the beginning of the quote in Latin, but it makes good sense sometimes to move it, as I have done here, move it outside the quote so that the quote in English is not interrupted. My sweetest, didn't I warn you about this street? The word nonne creates a question that expects the answer yes. Okay, didn't I warn you? Oh yeah, yes you did. Okay, that's kind of like you're leading the person to answer that way. Don't you have friends? Nonne amicos habes? Whom, quos, accusative plural relative pronoun, whom you are able to call. Okay, whom you can call. Cur absunt? Why are they absent? fortasse sapientiore sunt quam tu. Perhaps they are wiser. Okay, so this IOR, this is the comparative form. It takes third declension endings like this ES. Perhaps they are wiser than you. Clemens summa cum tranquillitate ei respondet. Absunt amici, sed Dei me servare possunt. Dei homines scelestos punire solent. Clemens responded with the greatest tranquility. Okay, when you have a preposition like cum modifying a noun, in this case it's an ablative because cum takes ablative. When you have an adjective that is describing the noun, it is very normal to have this word order. Okay, so adjective, preposition, noun. You have the same thing with like summa cum laude, with highest praise. Okay, so Clemens responded to him with the greatest tranquility. My friends are absent, but the gods can protect me. Possunt. They are able to. Can takes an infinitive, servare. The gods are able to protect me. The gods usually, okay, this verb solent means to do something usually or to be accustomed to do something, and it takes an infinitive to finish its action. So the gods usually punish homines scelestos, wicked men. Eutychus iratissimus, quid dices inquit? Tu ne mihi ita dicere audes? Eutychus, very angry, said, What do you say? You dare to speak to me in this way? Okay, so audes is not audis. Okay, audis would mean you hear. Audes is a different verb that means to dare. Okay, it takes an infinitive. So the ne here of tune, the ne just makes this a question. Okay, so this is to you, and then question. You dare to speak to me in this way. Ita means in this way. Tum Eutychus operis signum dedit. Statim quatuor Aegyptii qui fustes vibrabant Clementi apropinquabant. Then Eutychus gave the signal to the hired thugs. Okay, operis, dative plural. Immediately 4 Egyptians, quatuor Aegyptii, who were waving clubs, qui fustes vibrabant, were approaching Clemens. This is a dative singular ending. Okay, the verb apropinquabant takes a dative object. Folks, this is very serious. Remember, the last guy who owned the shop also refused to pay the protection money. They found him dead in the street. Well, Clemens is in the street, and 4 Egyptian thugs with clubs are about to attack him. Clemens constitit. Via in qua stabat erat deserta. Clemens stood his ground. The street in which he was standing, in qua stabat, erat deserta. Okay, if you've ever seen an old Western, you've got like the person who's being attacked by the bad guys, and he's standing alone in the road, and like a tumbleweed goes rolling by. That's kind of what I picture here. Poor Clemens is alone. Tabernarii perteriti, per valvas tabernarum spectabant. Omnes inviti Clementem deseruerant, simulatque Eutychus et operae advenerunt. The terrified shopkeepers were watching through the windows of their shops. All unwillingly had deserted Clemens as soon as Eutychus and the hired thugs arrived. Okay, so deseruerant, pluperfect tense verb, had deserted. Okay. Tabernarum, of the shops. Okay, genitive plural. Now here's the thing, people. There are so many shopkeepers. If they really were all to go right now and attack Eutychus and these 4 Egyptian thugs, they could overcome them. Some people might get hurt, okay? It's not even impossible that some people might die. But these people, if they would just stand up all together, they could have their neighborhood back. It's because they're afraid. Only Clemens has stood up to Eutychus, and in their fear, they are leaving him alone. And this is what happened last time, undoubtedly, and they're about to watch it happen again. Subito, fele sacra, quam Clemens mulcere solebat, e templo exeit. Suddenly, the sacred cat, which Clemens used to pet, went out of the temple. What? What's going on? Clementem recta petivit, in manus Clementis insiluit. It sought Clemens right away. It jumped into the hands of Clemens. This is not surprising. Clemens used to pet the cat. Clemens used to give it food from his own bowl. So this isn't surprising. But remember, people, who is this cat sacred to? The Egyptians. Omnes Aegyptii statim fustes abjecerunt et ad pedes Clementis procubuerunt. All the Egyptians immediately threw away their clubs and bowed down at the feet of Clemens. Okay, this was not expected, okay? Because this is a sacred cat, and they know it's a sacred cat, and it clearly favors Clemens, they can no longer carry out the orders of Eutychus to attack Clemens. Clementem, quem fele sacra servabat, laedere non audebat. Okay, so I'm actually starting from the back. They were not daring. What were they not daring to do? To harm. Whom were they not daring to harm? Direct object Clementem. Clementem is described further as whom the sacred cat was protecting. Saeviebat Eutychus, sicut taurus iratus. Eutychus was seething with anger, like an angry bull. Tum feles in Eutychum insiluit et caput vehementer rasit. Then the cat jumped on Eutychus and was violently scratching his head. Melius est tibi fugere inquit Clemens. It is better for you to flee, said Clemens. Because now, since the cat has attacked Eutychus, the Egyptian thugs are certainly not going to ever follow Eutychus again. Eutychus cum operi suis per territus fugit. Postea, neque Clementem, neque alios tabernarios laedere temptabat. Eutychus, terrified, fled with his hired thugs. Afterwards, postea, he was trying to harm, temptabat, laedere, trying to harm. He was trying to harm neither Clemens nor neque, the other shopkeeper. So neque together is translated as neither nor. Mox etiam ex urbe discessit, nunc Clemens est princeps tabernariorum. Soon he also left the city. Now Clemens is the chief of the shopkeepers. And so, people, Clemens, by making a friend who didn't seem to be important at the time, managed to have fortune truly favor him.